Sup, devils? j-dawg back with another goddamn video. Gonna answer your fucking questions today. I'm fucking hilarious. I'm hilarious. I'm sorry. You know you laughed. You laughed. Don't be a pansy. Don't be offended by me imitating the j-dawg. Welcome back. Q&A video. I have not done this in over a year. The last time I did, I got a lot of good reception. People really enjoyed the video. They liked getting me talking about things that weren't just death metal, surprisingly. So I'm back. I got a lot of questions on my community post that I have up here. There's 12 comments, 12 questions here. I also did a shorts and there's several questions on there. And then I also did an AMA on Instagram. And yeah, so this is going to be a several part series. I'm going to be Justin Horville for probably a couple weeks now to get through all these questions. I don't want to make like hour-long videos, so I've got some good content coming. So let's go ahead and get started. I asked on my community post on my YouTube page, saying, I haven't done one of these in a while. I saw Matt from Altars of Madness do this yesterday or today, and I was like, oh, you know what? That's a good idea. I haven't done that in a while. Let's take a break, showing off some music, talking about music, or doing reviews, or whatever the hell else I've been doing the last several months. And just, talk to the camera about other random shit that you guys want to know about. So let's go ahead and get started. The first comment is actually from Wendy. So shout out, Wendy. Did you immediately enjoy death metal the first time you heard it, or was it something that took time for you to enjoy? So that's the first part of the question. The other part is, does my partner, is she into the same kind of music? So, okay. So no, I did not enjoy death metal the first time I ever heard it. I was very young when I first heard it. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. My brother is the reason why I listened to it. He listened to it, and I remember not liking it. So I was heavily raised in the classic rock part of the music scene. That's what my parents listened to, and my family as a whole. So I was really into bands like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones and U2 and all of that stuff. And then as I started to get a little bit older, I pretty much just loved everything my brother did, was really into everything that he was. And I would start to go into like his bedroom and stuff, his tapes and shit like that would be sitting out. And I remember the first album I ever really saw, I think I'm pretty sure he had a tape of it, but I also know that he had a CD, so he might have eventually got it on CD. It was Obituaries, Cause of Death. So I remember seeing that album cover and being like, what is this? And listening to it and not really liking it just because of the vocal style. But he listened to this music, and it was all that I heard, and it was all him and my older cousin talked about and like were into. So I wanted to like it. So I started going into his room with like blank tapes and stuff like that, and dubbing tapes that he had, and Death was one of them. I think it was Scream Bloody Gore was like the first one that I dubbed, but then after that was Death Leprosy. Just seeing the Ed Repka artwork, and like I was really infatuated with the death metal artwork. So that was essentially what got me slowly into it. I was more into the musicality of it, the fast-paced guitar riffage and the chugs and the incredible drumming and stuff like that. That was something that was just, it blew my mind, and that's what I mostly listened to. I kind of drowned out the vocals. But then as I got older, the vocals didn't bother me anymore. It was something that I like craved in my music. Music wasn't good enough unless there was screaming and gutturals. So no, I wasn't into it for a very long time. It wasn't until about midway through my high school days, when I was probably like a junior in high school, when I really started to get into it, and started to branch out my music tastes and start to try to hunt it down. So I was probably like 15, 16, 17 years old. So it came a little bit later in my life. And as for the second part of the question, is my partner into the same kind of music? So no, my wife is not into death metal or black metal or grindcore or hardcore or anything like that. She does like, the alternative grunge style. She loves classic rock. Like that's what she was raised on. And when we first met over 20 years ago, like we geeked out on music like that because that's what we were raised on. But I do like a lot of the same music that she listens to. She mostly listens to pop music. But her and I also really enjoy a lot of the same bands that are not metal bands. So that's where we find our happy medium. But I've always said, like, I had no intentions of ever marrying or being with somebody that was exactly like me, that was into all the same stuff as me. I don't want to marry myself. I wanted to be with somebody who had different interests and exposed me to different things, and she definitely has. Like, her and I are not the same person, but we also do have a lot of the same common interests. So there's that happy medium in our relationship that works really well for us. So that was the first question. The second question is, do I watch horror movies? If so, which ones do you enjoy the most? So when I was younger, when I was in high school, college time frame, I loved horror movies. I was obsessed with them. I collect the DVDs. I have a lot of DVDs of horror movies. I used to go to every single show that would be in the theaters. So I've seen like all the revivals of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was a huge Rob Zombie fan, so I had House of a Thousand Corpses. But my favorite movies are pretty much like the Stephen King movies, like It and those kinds of movies. And then I love zombies. So any of the zombie movies like Evil Dead, Day of the Dead, 28 Days Later. I was super into The Walking Dead. I've seen all the shows, all the series, except for the new one that's out right now. I have not watched that yet. And I've read all of the comics and stuff like that. So I do like horror movies. I just don't keep up with it anymore. I haven't seen anything new in a long time. And I've considered kind of, going back and trying to watch some newer movies that have come out lately. I know was there an Evil Dead movie that came out this year that was really good? I can't remember. But there's that streaming platform called Shudder, and I've considered getting an account through there and watching like Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that, because I know they have a series on there, and going through that. So I might start there. But yeah, I do like horror movies. Obviously, I mean, death metal is a lot of horror stuff. So I do like it. It doesn't creep me out or anything like that. The only thing that I don't really care for is the serial killer stuff, like the actual like real-time murder serial killers thing, like Dahmer and stuff like that. I don't know why. I'm not really into that. But other than that, I like anything else. So yeah. All right. So David, who is one of my first ever subscribers, I think he's been a subscriber of mine ever since I started, asks, which discography do you prefer more, King Diamond or Merciful Fate? So this was actually hard. I sat on this all night and thought about it. And I originally was going to say Merciful Fate because those first two records are just 10 out of 10s. But I don't listen to the whole Merciful Fate discography more than I listen to King Diamond. I listen to King Diamond way more. And I mean, I've got his picture disc hanging behind me. So I'm going to go with King Diamond here. I got my work thing is popping up. There we go. Let's close that. You guys can't see it, but I was seeing some work notifications pop up. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go with King Diamond here. I listen to him a lot more. I pull his albums a lot more than I do any of the Merciful, well, with the exception of the first two. But yeah, so I'll go with King Diamond. That was actually really hard. And for the record, I am recording on a break during my work day. I gotta take a break somehow. So this is when I squeeze in my YouTube videos. For anybody that is wondering, which you probably weren't, but anyway. Next question is, does Melanie really love death metal from the legendary Death Sandwich, who has also been a subscriber of mine for a while now? No. I am an industry plant. I actually only like the Jonas Brothers and Taylor Swift, and this is just all a ploy to make millions of dollars that I currently am making off of my YouTube channel. The next one is Brandon. So Brandon is also another subscriber of mine that oftenly engages on my channel and has been watching me for a while. You can only listen to pop punk for a year, or no black metal and death metal for a year. Which do you choose? So I have to choose either listening to pop punk for a full year or no. So either or. Okay, so I would definitely never listen to pop punk for a whole entire year. Absolutely not. I do not like that genre. I mean, there's exceptions to that. I definitely still would listen to, and I don't even know if these are considered pop punk bands, but Green Day and Blink-182. Those are probably the only ones that I really would actually listen to and be okay with. But I could definitely go a whole entire year without black metal and death metal, just because there's so many other bands and music and genres of music that I listen to that I think I would be okay with doing. However, I would have to be totally removed from social media. I'd have to close my accounts because I follow so many labels and bands and other vinyl collectors in the death metal scene that show off all these new releases and stuff like that. It would be very tempting to then go listen to those things. So I'd have to do that, and I'd also have to lock up my collection of that music. So that it would be hard. I wouldn't say it would be easy, but it would definitely be hard. But I would rather go without it than listen to a whole entire year of pop punk music. That is not my thing. So the next question is actually a cool question. So Lee is awesome, by the way. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's an incredible artist too. He's been pumping out some great content lately. And this question actually goes really well. I'm messing up my camera here. Sorry about that. Goes really well with essentially like what my answer is going to be for him. So favorite piece or pieces of metal merch that isn't a physical format. So nothing that's like CD, tape, or vinyl. And yeah, I have a lot of metal merch in terms of t-shirts and magazines and like books that I've bought, like Judas Priest books and the death metal book that came out fairly recently and the black metal book and stuff like that. I pretty much buy any sort of book and read it. I like reading those types of books. But I do have some merch, I guess you can consider it merch, that I got that is currently framed on my wall right now. So I'm going to quickly just pull it down. I will take off one. I don't feel like trying to take off the other ones right now. But back when my YouTube channel first got started, Mark Riddick reached out to me and said that he was a fan of my channel and that he wanted to send me something. And so he did. And I was probably 1,000 subscribers in, and I had just talked on Ken's Death Metal Crypt, and Mark had shouted me out on there. And so Ken is a big reason for this. So I feel like I still owe him so much. And Mark sent me a care package, essentially, of some postcards of his artwork and some other stuff like stickers and other things, other artwork that was printed out, and the CD of his new Fetid Zombie album that he had released last year on Transcending Obscurity. He also sent me some Fetid Zombie demos, tapes, and he sent me a bunch of his artwork. So I took those and I framed them and hung them all around my office. I have not unpacked most of them because I do have about 10 more of these that have been framed, but I did recently start unpacking a little bit and hanging stuff up finally in my office after moving, and some more are back there. But yeah, so I cherish these because I absolutely love Mark's work. He is an icon in the death metal scene, in the metal scene as a whole. And one of the coolest moments since I've done this YouTube channel is collaborating with him, where we gave away a piece of original artwork that he made. That was last January, so it's been almost a year now. He goes on he's been on a heavy metal stream with Marty and Alan, and that was an awesome stream. Like, he's done several streams with Ken, and I think he just literally, Lee, didn't he think he was pretty much just on your channel too. So Mark is awesome. If you're not familiar with Mark Riddick, you should go check out his work. He does amazing work. He's been doing it for a very long time. He's been on a lot of he's worked with a lot of iconic death metal bands. But yeah, so this is one of the coolest things ever. So yeah, I had it framed. And yeah, this is some of my favorite merch that I have. So thank you once again, Mark, for always being a great support of mine. Okay. How are we doing? 14 minutes? Nice. I'm going through this a lot faster than I thought I was going to. Do I play any instruments? I do. Yes, I do. I haven't in a while. Did I skip one? I did. I skipped one. Okay, well, let me answer this one. And then I'll go back to that one. So yeah, I do play instruments. A big background of mine, I started playing the clarinet when I was about 7 years old. And I played clarinet all throughout high school. I was in competitive marching band and competitive symphonic band. I did solo competitions. We won state all 4 years I was in high school. I've won medals and stuff like that. I also know how to play the French horn, the tenor saxophone, the bari saxophone, the alto saxophone, the bass clarinet, and I know how to play a little bit of piano. I'm not too good at it, but I know like the basics, and I also know how to play guitar and bass guitar. So yeah, I have a very extensive musical background that I've done nothing with in my life. I found metal music and then just put all of my passion into this. But if I had really been motivated and stuck with it, I probably would be doing this right now. Whether it be owning my own recording studio and recording artists, which has always been a dream of mine, or playing it and doing that, working for bands and touring with them and stuff like that. But that didn't happen, obviously. Okay. So the next one is, okay, so the one that I accidentally skipped was, what is your favorite non-metal band or album? So this is tough because I do have a lot of favorite bands that are not metal bands. But I have a question for everybody. Do you consider Tool a metal band? Because I see a lot of people say they're a progressive rock band, not metal, or an alternative rock band. So if that's the case, if we're going to be really nitpicky here, Tool is my favorite non-metal band, and their album Lateralis is my favorite non-metal album of all time. However, if we're considering Tool metal, I'll go another direction here. And Genesis, the progressive rock band, is my favorite band, non-metal band, and their album Duke is my favorite non-metal album. However, this changes from time to time. I do go back and forth between this and bands like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, I've also donned one of my all-time favorite albums as well. So it depends on, I think really depends on my mood. But right now, I'm saying this, Genesis, if you don't know, is a progressive rock band that started in the 70s with Peter Gabriel as their main singer. And then eventually he left the band and Phil Collins took over as lead singer. And that is when I was introduced into Genesis. I was born in 1984, so I grew up with Phil Collins. Phil Collins is one of my all-time favorite musicians and artists. I have an obsession with him outside of my death metal alter ego. And Genesis is a band, and Phil Collins is an artist I listen to a lot when I'm not listening. In fact, probably most of the time, if I'm not listening to death metal, I'm listening to one of their albums or collecting them or hunting down stuff. So this is my alter ego. I love progressive rock music, and I do love 80s music, which I think you guys have realized that with some of the videos I've been posting lately. So yeah, it's this. I do have another YouTube channel that I have done nothing with, but I've uploaded a couple of videos there to try and talk about my other music passions on there. I don't dedicate enough time to it. I dedicate way more time to this because this is mostly what I listen to. But yeah, if you're ever interested in what I'm listening to that is not metal music, Melanie Loves Metal, Melanie Loves Music on YouTube. You can subscribe to it if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, I love prog, which will explain a lot of the music that I love this year that has come out, like Tumult and Horrific, and the new Afterbirth record is fucking phenomenal, and we'll talk about that soon. So yeah, there's that. Where am I at now? Oh, right. The Justin Horville fanboy is here. At least I don't know. I actually don't know if you're the fanboy, but I'm assuming based off the way you worded this, you must be. Is deathcore canoe BS, or do you like some of that too? First of all, we know what a canoe is, right? Like, you guys know, like, we all know what a canoe is, right? It's something that floats on the water. Are canoes bad? I don't. Anyway, I don't like deathcore. But that is not to say I've never listened to it and I've never liked some of it. I have liked some of it. I've talked about it on here. I've shown it off on here. I don't listen to it really hardly at all anymore. At all. I don't mind Whitechapel. Holy shit, trigger warning. People are going to lose their fucking minds because, oh my god, I'm a poser, I'm a canoe. I like Whitechapel, but I barely listen to them now. I haven't listened to them in a long time. I did like their last album that they released. I also don't mind Shadow of Intent, but I don't really listen to them a whole lot. And yeah, I mean, that's really about it. Any of this other stuff, I couldn't even name, with the exception of like one band right now, Lorna Shore. I couldn't even name or tell you what current deathcore bands are like on the up and up. I don't like Lorna Shore at all. I think it's gross. I just don't like it. It's just not for me. Most deathcore is not for me. However, I am this person that understands that music is acquired taste and everybody hears things differently. So if you're into it, cool. I don't fucking care. I'm choosing not to listen to it. I'm not going to degrade you or talk down to you just because you do. So there we go. That's my answer. My politically correct answer. All right. The next question is emulation or incantation. Easy, incantation. People are going to be like, what? Yeah, they're first, like, I heard them first before emulation, and I've always loved them. They've always been one of my all-time favorite death metal bands. I tend to listen to them a lot more than emulation, but I still love emulation. Don't get me wrong here. But I've always just gone for incantation. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so the last one. I knew this was coming. You can't see the whole question, but trust me, this is what it says here. I'll shorten my camera here so you can see the whole question just for a minute. Do you buy albums from bands that have or had members who were known for doing sketchy shit, but you overlook that because the band makes great music? So this is that separate the art from the artist whole entire discourse that happens a lot here on YouTube and social media as a whole. No, if I know an artist is sketchy, I stay away from their music. Keyword there. If I know that they're sketchy, I stay away from the music. Now, have I ever bought music and later found out that this person was a sketchy piece of shit? Yes. Do I still own that music? Yes. There are a few sections there where I've just gotten rid of it, or I've traded it, or I've sold it. But if I were to take the time to look into every single new band that I've never heard to see if they're sketchy, I feel like it would just ruin music as a whole for me. Because if you think about it, black metal is not the only musical genre that has this problem. I think it's more prominent and people talk about it more, especially in the metal scene, because it's just social media and it's so much more accessible now. But there are shitheads everywhere in the world, not just metal music. And I can't name any right now. All I can think about are rap artists, and they kill people, and they are just like awful individuals, or they beat the shit out of their girlfriend, Chris Brown, and they're still famous, and they're still making music, and they're still fucking multi-millionaires, and people are still buying their music. That is literally the same thing here. And yes, some are more extreme than others. But my ideology is I am not a racist. I do not believe in suppressing a group of people just because their color of their skin is different, or because they're gay, lesbian, gay, transgender, whatever you want to fucking call it. And I strongly oppose people who purposely make that their life to try and suppress those groups of people. However, if you feel that way, I am pretty much with a sound mind now of accepting that not everybody is going to agree with my lifestyle, or not everybody is going to not be a racist piece of shit, because I don't think racism will ever go away, unfortunately. And I accept that. Unfortunately, it's not doesn't make it right by any means, but I also am getting to the point now where if there's a mutual respect between me and another person who has a different ideology, which I have several friends that are really on the opposite end of the political spectrum for me, and we really do not agree with a lot of things. but they're just in general a good human being to their friends and to their family, and they don't create issues in their life, or they're not harming individuals, but they have this very different point of view in terms of people as a whole. It is what it is. Like, we'll get along, we respect each other. I'm not going to make it my mission to take you down, essentially, or cancel you, as people like to say. Now, on the sense of like NSBM, I do know a lot of the, like, who the NSBM bands are, and I purposely don't listen to their music. So for example, Goat Moon is a big one. I think he has had, I don't know the full extent of it. I just know that earlier works that he has put out has been very NS, or just as a whole not good. But I don't think his music is that now. But I'm choosing not to buy it or listen to it. But a lot of the people that I'm friends with love his music. They think he's a phenomenal black metal artist. And it is what it is. And same thing with, like, there's a couple of other bands that a lot of my friends just really praise. And they always show off their stuff on, like, YouTube and Instagram. Peste Noir is another one. I've never heard these bands. I just know what their background is. But that's me. I am choosing not to do that. However, I don't fault people who do listen to that. Now, if it's all you listen to, like literally that is all you're buying and the only thing you're supporting, then I may have a little bit of questions there, like, all right, Hitler wannabe, what's going on here? what have you been smoking lately? But if they're, I get it. Like, they're probably musically good, and they probably musically sound good, and they're ignoring the lyrical content or whatever else. So, but have I bought music and then later found out? Absolutely, especially in death metal. So a prime example is Disma. I don't remember if it's the lead singer or who exactly it was. I can't think of it right now. Ended up being some awful person that was really abusive and just bad. And I think he also has a Nazi side project band. But I own their records. I did not know about any of this when I bought them. I still have them. And every once in a while I'll still pop them on. And not a tiny bit of guilt comes through me. But for the most part, no. And that goes to the same with a couple of releases that I do have on Werewolf Records. I got them not knowing any of the discourse around Werewolf back when I first was diving into black metal. This was literally, I was so oblivious. I was so naive to all this stuff. And I didn't know. But I really like War Moon Lord that came out last year on Werewolf. Werewolf himself, the owner of Werewolf Records, has interacted with me, has been very cordial with me, and, like, I don't know, like, if there's so much out there, it's like, what actually confirms this other than them literally having straight up swastikas and stuff like that on their set and on their like album covers, like that guy Storm Height, is that his name, from Moon Citadel? Didn't he have like swastikas or something like that in his demos? I don't know. I just know that from somebody showing it off on their collection update. I don't actually know any of that music. So yeah, no, I purposely will not buy something if I know the human being is sketchy. And when I say sketchy, it really means like if there are those ties. Now, I do own Magua albums, and we all know the discourse around that. And that might actually be the only thing that I've purposely bought, fully knowing that there possibly is some ties, but guilty by association is not something that I always 100% agree with. And that's just because in my own general life, just because I have associated with somebody who turns out to be a shitty human being, that doesn't make me a shitty human being, and I'm not enabling it. It's just life isn't that simple, guys. Trust me. There are shitty people in my life that I would love to sit down and kick in the face and change their point of view on things, or how they treat people, or how they treat the people they're supposed to love, and like what they're teaching people, and whatever else that they believe in terms of their politics or whatever else. But life is not that simple, unfortunately. So that guilty by association thing is not something that I'm always on the same page with when it comes to these people that literally make that their whole entire demeanor online. That stuff drives me nuts. So I'm also a person that is heavily, that really firmly believes in second chances and people who can change and actually, do a lot of horrible things in their life and then, go through some sort of a revelation where they change and they are really feeling awful about what they've done and they've had some remorse and stuff like that. I do fully try to, have that patience and that that empathy with people, no matter how hard it might be. And I'm a very angry person, and I get really worked up about things, and I get really angry about things, and I go off on rants to my friends and family about stuff, and I'm very compassionate about a lot of things in terms of human rights and politics. I don't do it on here, obviously, but I also have that side of me that just wants to believe that people can be a better person even though they've done terrible things. Now, does that mean they get a pass on everything? No. There's just a lot of exceptions there. So I have gone off on a fucking tangent. We're at 31. Holy shit, I talked about this way too long. So no, I don't purposely buy things if I know they're sketchy. That's just me. If you do it, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not telling you guys not to. That's not what I'm saying here. So don't take this and call me a fucking canoe or a tampon or whatever the hell else Justin always goes off about on his channel. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying, for me personally, no, I don't. But am I perfect? No. There's been times where it's happened, or it's happened without me knowing. So there's that side of the things. And have I kept their stuff afterwards? A lot of times I don't know, because it doesn't sit well with me as an individual. But that's just me. You might be thinking differently. So that's all I have for the first Q&A. I think there's probably going to be 2 or 3 more after this, because I got several other questions to get through. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.